This narrative is absolutely ridiculous, as Kevin Durant has played his last game as a Phoenix Sun, according to multiple NBA insiders, and the Toronto Raptors are being named as a team that should go out there and acquire KD, should make the pursuit, as they, of course, can come in and deliver a very intriguing package for the Phoenix Suns, and this team is looking to win next season, and Kevin Durant, who has said a lot of complimentary things about Scottie Barnes, about Brandon Ingram, about the city of Toronto. There are a lot of people coming out and saying the Raptors need to pursue this trade. And I'm coming out here and shooting this down, breaking down why the Raptors need to avoid this with a 10-foot pole. And even if the Raptors are still highly interested in putting KD on this roster, even though Kevin Durant is still one of the best players in the NBA, this doesn't make any sense for the Toronto Raptors, salary-wise, timeline-wise, and everything we've been building over the past couple of seasons would fall apart if the Toronto Raptors end up going through with this. So lots of stuff to break down in this video. Before we dive into that, folks, again, you guys been crushing it, hitting the subscribe button as of late. I know this season's over, so some people are tuning out Raptors content and everything, but things are just heating up as the Raptors are putting together their roster, putting together all of the pieces to be back in playoff contention next season. So let's see if we can get 37,300 subscribers, build up this army we have here at Raptors Digest, because it's going to be an exciting few seasons now for the Toronto Raptors, and it starts in this off season. But we're talking about future moves of the Toronto Raptors and why this one makes zero sense for this Raptors team. Because news came out from Shams Charania yesterday that this marks the first action after they fired, the Phoenix Suns fired Mike Budenholzer. He came out and said this. This marks the first action in a summer of change coming to the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix is expected to engage in trade conversations involving Kevin Durant and will have discussions on the future of Bradley Beal, according to sources. Multiple teams will seriously pursue Kevin Durant, who finished another stellar season, and the franchise is expected to work with Kevin Durant and his business partner and boardroom CEO Rich Kleiman on the next landing spot for the future Hall of Famer. Now, I want to start off, this is not stupid for the Toronto Raptors to pursue because Kevin Durant is some bad player. Kevin Durant had an awesome season last year as a scorer, as an impact player out there on the Phoenix Suns. 27 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4.2 assists, even 1.2 blocks per game. And yes, he's 36 years old, but shooting 43% from the three-point line. Despite injury concerns, he has shown no signs of slowing down out there as a basketball player. And, people were writing off LeBron James at age 36. Oh, yeah, any minute now he's going to fall off a cliff. I would not be surprised if Kevin Durant is still a very high impact player over the next few seasons. So this is not me coming out and saying, oh, Kevin Durant is trash, he's washed, he's really bad, and that's why the Toronto Raptors should not pursue him. If we could just put Kevin Durant on the Toronto Raptors in a vacuum, makes a ton of sense. Let's rock, let's ride, let's do it. But the reality about what's going on with Kevin Durant and what's going on is this does not make any sense in terms of what the Toronto Raptors would have to give up, because the Raptors previously engaged in trade discussions for Kevin Durant. Again, this is a few seasons ago. He's younger. He still has more value with the Brooklyn Nets. And the Raptors were very, very high in terms of the pursuit. Woj came out and said that I see a team lurking is Toronto. They have all kinds of pieces you would want and picks for Kevin Durant. I think you keep watching Toronto and how involved they might get for Kevin Durant. If you follow the Raptors Digest during this era, this 2022 era, where it was the quest for KD every single day. I got the animation brought back up. This was the mission. This is what we wanted, out here in terms of a trade, back in 2022. This was the graphic we're playing on pretty well every video. But essentially, the Toronto Raptors were in the hunt. Now, they did not want to give up Scottie Barnes in those trade packages. That, of course, ended up being a correct decision. I don't care if you're high on Scottie, low on Scottie. Trading with how the things went for the Phoenix Suns there now at this point, trading Scottie Barnes, those deals wouldn't have made a ton of sense, including the fact that you would have had to attach other assets to it in order to make the money work, as Scottie was still on his rookie scale contract. Didn't make any sense there. So Masai Ujiri made the right move, the right deal there at this point. And at this point right now, of course, Kevin Durant's value is less. I think it's going to be a big surprise across the NBA in terms of how light the trade package, how little the Phoenix Suns actually get back in return for KD, just given the fact of his age, his injury situation, and the lack of leverage the Phoenix Suns have now at this point. But so I don't think value for value, I think you could actually get Kevin Durant on a pretty reasonable price here now at this point. But salary matching is where this comes into play where it makes zero sense for the Toronto Raptors, because Kevin Durant is making close to $60 million this season. That's the reality. That's everything we're looking at. And right now, if we're looking at the contracts that we could sort of match out there for a Kevin Durant trade, you're looking at least, because of course Scottie Barnes is not going to be dealt in one of these packages. Now, we just acquired Brandon Ingram. He's not going to be one of these deals. You have to attach 2 of Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and Immanuel Quickley in one of these trade packages. Now, I have been outspoken about how I do not want to see RJ Barrett traded. I do not want to see him dealt in any of the packages that we've heard rumored and fluttered around the trade rumor mill, leading the trade deadline, leading the offseason. Averaging 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists this year. Shooting 40% on corner threes and only 24 years old. Of course, Kevin Durant is the better player right now, but he's a decade older, over a decade older than RJ Barrett, and I get that in the short term you're looking for win now. Kevin Durant would, of course, in the immediate term future be a positive, but he's way more expensive, and RJ Barrett could take another leap next season to the point where this does become more of a leaning in favor of RJ Barrett. Then you have the other 2 names that are out attached to this. Jakob Poeltl is crucial to what the Toronto Raptors are doing. What they, at the center position, we have no real other reliable options at the center spot. Some people are high on Castleton. Some people are high on the future of Ulrich Shamshay. We can't realistically go into next year with a straight face and say we are trying to win if we let go of a guy averaging 15 points per game, 10 rebounds without a true backup option. So Jakob Poeltl, again, just in terms of value and importance of the Toronto Raptors, I'd argue that if you kept the roster constructed as is, and this might be a bold, crazy take, but if you don't make any other blockbuster moves, given the fact the Raptors have 2 guys that play the same position as Kevin Durant, and 1 guy that plays a very similar style of game as Kevin Durant and Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl's more important to winning to that group, because the Raptors would just, even though Kevin Durant is a much better basketball player than Jakob Poeltl, Jakob Poeltl's importance to this Toronto Raptors team, just given how he anchors the defense, how he can be in that mid-post area. Of course, you could acquire a new center if you bring in Kevin Durant and stuff, but Jakob Poeltl's importance to this team would, unless you completely overhaul this roster, he'd be more important to winning for the Toronto Raptors than inserting Kevin Durant in a team that already has elite big wings. So that's another guy that, you're attaching both of those dudes in a trade. That is very, very concerning. And then I know Immanuel Quickley has not had the greatest season this year. 17 points per game, 6 assists, but he is our 1A point guard. We just invested a lot of bread into him, and I want to see him with a full season of health, because he has shown flashes as just being an elite shooter, being able to be an elite knockdown guy out there at that PG spot. Again, I'm not that afraid of throwing IQ in a Kevin Durant trade package, but if you combine IQ in there with an RJ Barrett, with a Jakob Poeltl, it doesn't make any sense. IQ still has some value, and we still haven't seen what he can really be for this Raptors team. So in terms of actual trade packages, just looking at it, the only one that I could see in terms of making the money work is something like this: Immanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, and Ochai Agbaji. Then hopefully you get back a Nick Richards, just so the Raptors do have someone at the center position. And for Kevin Durant there, of course, that does hamstring you, in terms of a big salary out there in your books. You do lose another big salary in Immanuel Quickley. This is one that I could see some people arguing for, even though it would put us, you're running Scottie Barnes at the point guard position, or you have a lot of faith in Jamal Shead's ability to command a playoff team in his second year as a second-round pick. Those are all things that, are big decisions, big things that would have to be made. Frankly, I'm just coming out and saying I don't want to see the Raptors go down this path. I don't care how many positive things Kevin Durant has said about Scottie Barnes, about the Raptors organization, Brandon Ingram, any of those things in the past. This does not, at this point in his career, at this point in the Raptors' development curve, it doesn't make any sense for the Raptors to pursue this frontier. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best thing to get started. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.